by Women event then, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, that is crazy.
I know.
Exciting.
So everybody that's listening and can see me on Facebook or YouTube, this is the first time I've done this. And I know a lot of you have been really curious about what the Clubhouse app is all about. So I have, I'm just going to share my screen actually, and you'll be able to see also the ladies in the Clubhouse. So hold on. Well, you can't see them, but you'll be able to see the app and understand what this whole Clubhouse thing is all about. So Clubhouse is a new social platform, and we get to have these really cool conversations by audio. So everybody that's in this room, it is being recorded, just to let you know. And I actually wrote down a few words because obviously liability-wise, I wanted to cover myself. So by joining this room, you're automatically consenting to the recording. And if you don't consent, then please leave the room. And any broadcast that you share, this material belongs to me. So be careful with what you share. Unless you're sharing on social media, more likely to share this kind of post that I'm doing, that's fine. But any kind of reconditioned sort of rebroadcasted material, then don't do it. And also another thing is to say that all views and opinions of the moderators and the speakers on here today are based on individuals' experiences. So if you do want expert advice, it's really important to seek that on an individual basis because, we're giving our opinions based on our experience. And sometimes everybody's circumstances are slightly different. So make sure that you get those queries asked and kind of presented to. So, Kara's coming in now. So let me join. In fact, Melissa, I'm going to make you moderator. And GL, I'm going to make you moderator. So just checking you can still hear me. So we are sharing on Facebook. How exciting is this? So,
yay,
so we are bigging up the Branded by Women event, which is happening. I am right in thinking it's kicking off on the 23rd, aren't I? Anyone let me know?
I've got no idea when it's kicking off. It's on the 22nd or 23rd, and then I think the whole thing's like with the first day, and then I think, doesn't it like go start properly on the 25th? Oh, hang on, let me confirm with my notes.
Yeah, let us know. It's definitely that week. It's definitely that week, I think Danny told me.
So the live events they're doing earlier in the week, but actually the recordings, the presenters, the speakers is the 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Okay, brilliant, great. So it's a 3-day.
I just checked the thing I posted on Facebook, and that's what it says. The 24th, 25th, 26th. But there is an earlier day. There's a kickoff show, isn't there?
Yeah, and that was the first day, isn't it? It's like the pre-event. So for people who are listening in Clubhouse or listening to my live stream, obviously the Branded by Women event, it's a 3-day event, and I think it's been inspired by so many different female entrepreneurs entering the e-commerce space. But Melissa or Cara, do you want to kick off and just let everyone know what it's all about? Because I know you guys are speaking, aren't you?
Yeah, well, Branded by Women I did for the first time. I don't know, was it the first time that Danny actually did it last year, Melissa? I can't remember. But
yeah,
it was, wasn't it? So the inaugural year was last year, and basically Danny McMillan organised it, who's the most amazing, lovely man, who decided that he wanted to raise the visibility of how many amazing women there were out there doing well on Amazon. Because to be fair, I think there's an awful lot of men who chat about what they do, and I think us women have been a little bit shy in coming forward sometimes as to what we are able to achieve. And actually, what's really lovely is that it's created a little community of female sellers. And I have to say, I do think, and you can beat me if I'm wrong, but I do think women are a tad more collaborative than men. And we tend to work together more versus sort of competing with each other. And I think that's what's been the lovely thing. And sorry, I've just been running up some stairs. I'm so unfit. And then the event is basically just bringing together, I think there are 30 of us who are all doing a talk on our sort of area of expertise. And Danny beat us all and made sure that we did a different subject this year. So if you watched it last year, you won't get the same content again this year.
And I think I was part of it last year, and I think, like you say, it's great to be able to then connect with other people, and just by being part of the event, but by listening to all the. In fact, I've got to admit, I didn't listen to absolutely everybody's. I tried to listen to as many as I can. And what's great is it's free to attend, isn't it? But if you do feel that you want to kind of keep the content or kind of watch it at a different stage, because there's a lot to go through, you can upgrade, can't you, and get a paid ticket, I think, from memory.
Yeah, I think it's $99. I think it's $99, is it, or something, to upgrade, and then you just basically get to keep content. Which, I mean, I have to be honest, I'm the same as you. I don't have the patience to necessarily sit there and watch things for 3 days, but I do have the patience to sit and sort of pick and choose as and when I've got the time.
Yeah, exactly. So Melissa, Cara and Destiny, you're all speaking, aren't you? Do you want to kind of give everybody just like a brief kind of intro of who you are? And maybe, I was thinking maybe, because we do loads of these intros on Clubhouse, maybe share something that for maybe new people on Amazon, or if you want to grow your business on Amazon online, e-commerce, something that is a golden nugget, say, something to share.
I'm going to run in first because I'm probably going to have to run out in a minute.
No problem.
If that's okay. And actually, I have to say, it's been lovely getting to know Anna and Melissa, because I haven't really sort of met you both properly before. And I think a combination of Clubhouse and doing Branded by Women has been it's been really lovely.
Yeah, it has. I think Clubhouse has done that, hasn't it? Massively, I feel. Yeah.
It's sort of put real people's voices behind faces, you know, more so than Facebook or Instagram or any of that malarkey. So my background story is that I don't really weirdly consider myself to be an Amazon seller, because I didn't start my business on Amazon. I invented a range of baby products, which are, basically were Amazon bestsellers from the word go, but I also sold in all the big box stores, so Boots, Tesco's, Mothercare, etc. I've now moved out of all that area because, to be honest, I wasn't making enough money, not enough profit. I started my business back in 2010, launched with one product, and then grew through what customers sort of requested. And so what happened was, in 2014, I was getting divorced, and I realised that my business, although it was lovely and looked fabulous from the outside, you know, loads of celebrities endorsing it, but it just looked incredible, won millions of awards, etc. Unfortunately, it wasn't making enough money to actually put food on the table. And so I had to look at how I could make the business more profitable or go and get a job. And me and jobs, not so much. So basically started looking at Amazon because I got shown these Facebook ads, which still to this day make me laugh, because apparently you can sit on a beach, drink cocktails, and just hear the sound of ka-ching going on your computer. And you don't have to do much work. That's fabulous. Yeah.
I love that.
I'm actually reporting them to the Advertising Standards Authority, because it's all a load of bollocks. It's actually really hard work. But what I found was really interesting. My background is branding. So in my previous life, prior to becoming an inventor, I was actually I actually launched Amazon in the UK when it was a book warehouse in Slough. We launched eBay. I launched National Lottery in the UK back in 1994. I am quite old. I know I look stunningly young on my picture, and I look stunningly young in real life, she says, modestly. I'm teasing, don't I? So basically, my background is branding. So my golden nugget and my whole presentation is all about how important it is if you're selling on Amazon. And I don't give a shit, frankly, whether you're selling a spatula or you're selling something that sells for thousands of dollars. You have got to build a brand around it. And that does not mean giving it a name. That means giving it a personality. It means giving it something that people can care about and interact with, whether that's you as the business owner, the brand's quality, the product qualities, etc. So my whole passion is about helping either other small brands like myself who didn't really realise how much money Amazon could make you, because I turned the business around from being mid-six figures to 7 figures. First of all, I hit 7 figures in 2019, and I managed to stick in 7 figures for 2020, which to this day I am so grateful for with COVID, because travel is actually one of the reasons why a lot of parents buy my products. So brand, it's all about brand. So I bang that drum loud. Build a brand, people.
Love it, love it. I love.
Me done, Anna. Wow,
love it.
Well said, Karen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can go after that.
Really love that, and I don't know.
You're all amazing.
I don't know if you know this, Cara, because I actually, when I was first on maternity leave with Jacob, so Jacob's like now 13. So what year are we in now? Oh, I'm trying to work out what year it was. It's probably about 2008, 2009.
Yeah, Holly's was born in 2007, and I invented Snowshed in 2008, took it to market in 2010.
Yeah, so I met you very briefly, but I was like in the audience at an event in Birmingham. I think it was Mum's Club with Jane.
Oh, Jane, my lovely Jane.
And you stood up at a meeting where I think you may have even been awarded something, but you did a little talk on Snooze Shade. I think it was like quite sort of early days, and I was on maternity leave and just randomly gone to this event just to kind of decide what was, because I really wanted to start running my own business. And I heard your story and you get up, and it really inspired me. And if I think back now, like Jacob was only like a baby, I think. So that was 13 years ago. So
oh, bless you. Well, that's funny enough. I remember that. I won Mumpreneur of the Year award.
That was it.
I won a break to Butlins for 3 nights in non-busy season, which I then ended up taking do you remember when I had all the flooding in Bognor? And I didn't take it for 3 years. But no, I was there with my mum at that event. It was me and my mum, and I've actually still got the photo from because I'm still really good friends with Jane. But,
I still sort of network with her and chat to her online.
I was with her at Camp Festival a few years ago. We ended up
I saw her photo. I saw her share all that. So yeah, it's just I've seen obviously your journey and you grow and all that kind of stuff online. So it's been really good with Clubhouse, sort of like connect with you a bit. And I love how you're like you say it how it is, and you like with your wiggle waggle. What was it, willy waggling the other day?
Willy waving on any of the events that I'm involved with, because willy waving should be banned. And unfortunately, seems to be quite popular on Clubhouse. A lot of people like to stand there waving their 7-figure willies around. Well, we don't do that here.
I love it. Cool. Well, thanks for that. It was a great share, and I think everybody that's listening, I think Amazon as well is really, really focusing on building brands, isn't it? With the whole brand registry and encouraging to get trademarks. So it really fits in with what you were saying as well. So thanks for sharing that. And I know you've got to duck out soon, but thanks for coming on here. So Melissa, do you want to share who you are and maybe something, like something that is going to maybe inspire people, or just something that you think is really important when you're growing an online business or on Amazon?
Yeah, so my name is Melissa Simonson, and my very first experience with e-commerce was when I was about 15. I was working for my brother, Steve Simonson, and he had an online flooring store, and I used to help with the listings. And back then, you actually had to learn HTML and a little bit of programming in order to just manage a listing, because it wasn't just, throw up a quick Shopify store and call it a day, and you're selling, at the end of the day. Back then we had an entire basement full of programmers, and I knew very little about programming, but yeah, I still know a little HTML and some experience. So that was my first brush with e-commerce. Since then, I'm partnered with one of my other brothers for a brand in the pet category. And so I am an entrepreneur. I am a huge fan of the e-commerce space, digital and physical products, an international speaker. I am an event coordinator and host, a podcaster, and I'm the GM of the Empower E-commerce Cooperative. So Empower is a nonprofit, member-owned cooperative founded to help e-commerce entrepreneurs. And it's really something I'm very passionate about. And one of the things that makes me excited to work every day is this mission of not only uniting all of the e-commerce sellers so that we have a louder voice, and so that, big marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, even state governments are not as able to take advantage of hardworking entrepreneurs, but also so that I can be a champion for women in e-commerce. I grew up in a very traditional area, and there was a lot of limiting beliefs that I didn't know that I had. And where do you live, Melissa? So I grew up in Idaho, and it's very, it's religious, and it's very traditional. We'll call it patriarchal even. There the men work and the women raise the kids, and there's certain expectations that are unspoken but just known. And again, I didn't even know that I was carrying these around. I didn't know I was walking around with these. And even now, it still catches me off guard sometimes, the assumptions that I'm carrying around with me, that I have to actively remind myself of and say that that's actually not something that's required or something that I have to do, or something like that. And so I know I've worked for doctors' offices where, of course, the doctors are men, the women are the nurses and the admin staff and secretaries. And I've seen this from so many different angles. where, you know, from the family angle, from the traditional conservative area angle, from, you know, doctor's offices to, you know, schooling and many different areas, I've seen where men can be unknowingly, you know, in a position of power and in, you know, just, I think that they're not necessarily always aware. And I think the other thing is, especially in e-commerce and in male-dominated areas, it's important to kind of shine a light on the fact that it is often men on the stage. It's often, you know, not women who are representing that field or that path. And that's very difficult for women who want to be on that path or who are passionate about that as a business. You know, I remember this one time Steve was speaking on stage, and there was a panel of 4 or 5 men up there, and it was huge. I mean, this is one where there's like thousands of people in the audience, and I was watching this to support my brother. But one of the things that happened in this that was very significant to me, and this is before I was running Empowery, but I'm watching this to support my brother, and the Q&A session comes up, and there's a woman who comes up to the mic. You know, everyone's sort of standing in line waiting their turn to ask a question. And she comes up to the mic and says, I see that you're all men up there. You're all very successful, and I think that's great. I would love to do that too, but why is it only men that I see up on the stage? What is wrong with women? Why can't we do that? Why can't we be the successful ones who are telling everyone how to do it? And the premise of that question is not great, even flawed, perhaps, but the sentiment behind it is something that I think all of us have felt, and a big reason why we support all of these events to empower women in e-commerce. Because if you don't see someone who looks like you, feels like you, who you can identify with, who is up on the stage. This is a conversation I had with Benny when I was preparing the Empowering Women's Conference, and he was gearing up for the Branded by Women Conference. It's important to have a woman who you can put yourself in her place and say, okay, all right, if she can do this, I definitely can do this. And that exact conversation happened to one of my speakers. So I spoke about this with Regina Peterbergsky. She was one of the speakers at the Empowering Women's Conference and is now a 2-time speaker for the Branded by Women Conference. She saw Kirsty Verity on the stage one day, and she saw, okay, she's from an area that I've lived. She's an Amazon seller. She's a woman. She's, all of these things that Regina could identify with. And she said, all right, so then if she can do this, I guess I can do this. And that was a huge breakthrough moment for her. It changed her life forever. And then to go from that moment where she got inspired to actually speaking. And so she and Kirsty were both speakers at the Empowering Women's Conference, February 2020. So to go from that moment of being inspired by someone who's, mentor level to you, and then share a stage with them at a later event, that's what this is about. That's the power of having these conferences and these opportunities to put more women on the stage. And I know that Danny has done such a spectacular job of gathering women who not only have value to share, value to add, but also a story and relatability with other women in e-commerce, because there are a lot of women in e-commerce, and some of them are just, considered the wife of a seller, but they're really a husband and wife team. And so we, often it's the man who is representing that brand. And so we don't even necessarily think of how many women are really in e-commerce. But now with having, so many more women on the stage, it really is a powerful thing to start seeing more and more women speak up. And the more of these events that are happening, the more women who are standing up, the more women who are on the stage, it's only better. It's only better and better for the world. And it's very exciting to be. I'm passionate about this, as you might have noticed.
No, it's really interesting stuff, because as you know, I think there's a lot of synergy with what you're saying and what I believe, with kind of trying to inspire a lot of women online to kind of just go out there and just take action, really. Because I think a lot of women sit on the fence with stuff, and as women, especially if you're a mum as well, you basically help the whole family, don't you? And sort of neglect yourself sometimes. And we always have these kind of dreams or things that we want to do, but a lot of the time don't get around to doing it. And it's interesting what you say about speakers, because you hardly see, you see more and more women speakers now. And I think coming from the corporate world, I think, Cara, you were from the corporate world as well, weren't you? Did you have a corporate background?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, as I said, I started off in PR, TV. I was in in-house events. I worked for a publishing company, and that's why I've ended up. It's so weird. I've ended up in manufacturing, retail, etc. Because it's not anything I even had any experience of when I started. And there were no amazing courses like to teach you how to do it either. It was all like literally suck it and see.
But it's great because your story, I think, because that's what inspired me many years ago, is that you saw a problem, and it's what we talk about now, isn't it? It's like you saw a problem and wanted to solve that problem, and that is how creating a product, in my eyes, is all about. Whereas a lot of people are looking at all these softwares all the time, and it's all about keywords, and it's not. It's just like looking to solve problems. There's
no, and that's what drives me potty, because actually, and that's a very, in my opinion, I've met a few techie women who think like that, but I have to be honest and say it's a very male trait to do. It's all about the numbers. It's all about the finding the gap, the number gap. Whereas I think where women are really good is finding where there's a genuine problem, and the brands that do really well on Amazon are the ones that genuinely solve a problem. They don't just take any old crap off a store, off a manufacturer in China with no interest in developing the product or anything. They tend to be like, when you look at people like, Anchor, I mean, they started with chargers, for God's sake, and charging leads. There's nothing sexy about that, but what they did was they really put their money where their mouth was about quality, warranties, etc. So people trusted them, that even though they didn't know who they were at the beginning, that they would get their money back, they'd have a lifetime guarantee, etc. And also, I mean, I've actually had a couple of problems with Anchor products occasionally, and they're brilliant on customer service. And that's why you've got to have that personality of some sort behind your business, because you've got to be somebody that a customer trusts to hand over their money. And whether that's for a phone charger or whether that's for like a high-end desk treadmill, you've got to be making people feel confident about the fact that they can trust you. And that's what I see a lot of on Amazon, is a lot of people literally, they're just like, chuck a product up, take some pictures, use the same pictures that everyone else uses, use the same copy, focus on keywords, not on anything else, and then they wonder why they're not doing brilliantly well.
Yeah. So
I think a core part that also relates to that, from what I've seen, is just the difference in instant gratification and playing the long game. From what I've seen in this space, my mentality is definitely more focused on the relationship aspects and the abundance mentality of what's going to happen in the long game. So I'm more invested in building the brand awareness, so that way 3 to 5 years from now, someone will know who I am and come back to me. And a lot of the people I've dealt with in space are still in that kind of get rich quick scheme of trying to make money instantly, throw a product up, and just build a side business. 100%. I think that's big.
Yeah, I think that I 1,000% agree with you on that one. And it's interesting because I've had 3 people in the last week and a half offer to buy my business. Completely cold calls about the fact that, we've seen what you're doing, we want to buy your brand. And I'm like, do you know what? I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. I'm having fun. I'm looking at the long term. I'm nearly 50 and I see this business as something that's going to support me and my daughter for at least the next 10 years, and not through selling it. And then I might be prepared to sell it, when I feel ready. But I suppose I see my brand as my other child. I mean, I wouldn't sell my existing child. Well, actually, maybe for a good child.
This is what I love about you. No, yeah, exactly. I think, and it's probably bad to say this, but this is from my experience of just helping men and women. And this is a very generalized statement, because there are men that are exceptions to this and there are women that are exceptions to this, but just a generalized statement, pre-brief on that, is that women tend to look more at the long term of building something that's probably more meaningful for them and is satisfying a problem, and building a long-term brand. I'm not saying that's everybody, but I just tending to, the ones that I've worked with, just tend to be a little bit more like that. But that's not to say that men don't do that either. But just on a general thing, with people coming into this business who want get rich quick or think that they're going to make $1 million overnight, and who are just purely looking at finding a product and flipping it and numbers tends to be more men. But as I say, there are men and women that are exceptions to that as well. So as regards to like speaking and the event, we've got Sharon now here and Destiny. We haven't come to you yet. So I don't know if you want to just kind of quickly introduce yourself, Destiny, and just maybe, I know you added something there, but maybe just officially let everyone know what you do and any shares that you want to do with everyone.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Destiny Rashawn, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Better AMS. We are a 7-figure Amazon advertising agency. My story is a little bit different in that I never actually sold on Amazon. So I got started as a digital marketing intern for a fast-scaling e-commerce company. And within a year and a half there, I went from starting as, listening to Ben Cummings, Mike Zagari talk about all the different ad techniques. This is like 4 years ago. And within that year period, I ended up managing a lot of really large brands on the platform. I was managing Elf Cosmetics, Banana Boat, Flying Tropic, Playtex Baby, all of these brands because the company I worked for scaled so quickly. With that, never came a raise because, again, I was incredibly young. I think I was 21 years old in an incredibly toxic environment, being completely taken advantage of. But with that, I learned an insurmountable amount about Amazon ads. And I really got to see the blended model of kind of 1P, 3P, what the CPG side focuses on with brand awareness. I was managing a lot of their AMG campaigns, which is what DSP is now. So I was kind of handling communication.
Translate too many acronyms.
That's an OG Amazon right there. Basically, I was managing all of their Amazon advertising campaigns from Seller Central sponsored products all the way up to their off-platform ads with DSP. So I was managing the full funnel and helping communicate all of those different strategies as a really young kid. I remember flying out to that office in Stanford and walking in, and they were like, "Here's the head of our digital marketing team." I was like, "No, this is the digital marketing team." And it was just absolutely crazy how much I learned in that year period. But as with everyone on this stage, I kind of had that basically come to Jesus moment when at one point I disagreed with the board with my male partner on one of the strategies they were running. And I was picked out precisely, pulled aside, and told that I was uncoachable and I needed to basically learn my place with the team. Of course, this was me speaking to 3 older men who did not agree with my strategy. So that was kind of a really eye-opening experience. I was managing, $10 million of spend a quarter, handling that whole capacity of the team. I never got a raise. I think I was making like $36,000 doing this and just being completely taken advantage of. And then that is when I decided to transition to where I'm at with Better AMS. And we were basically just focusing on bringing all of these really high level, big brand advertising strategies to all the smaller brands in the space, driving that brand awareness, really projecting kind of the long-term growth over short-term wins. And that's where we are now. And really excited to be speaking on Branded by Women. I think we all kind of came to the conclusion that Danny really pushed us all to kind of go past our generalized topics of me speaking on Amazon ads, all the basics that we're good at. Danny really pushed that this year. And I think this is truly just like an over-encompassing e-commerce event. And I think anyone could probably drive value from it. So I'm super excited to hear everyone else's topics as well.
Brilliant. I think, Danny does manage to get the sort of like the best out in people, doesn't he? He's a fab connector, and he also kind of manages to push you a little bit. So I know we've got Sharon here as well. I just wanted to say that if anybody's joining the room, we are recording. I kind of did a bit of an announcement at the beginning. You can see from the label of the room it's recording. We will be coming to questions. So if anyone's got any questions, then just raise your hand and we'll get you up on the stage. We've been introducing all the women that have been at the Branded by Women event, which kicks off, we identified, I think, on the 24th of February. There's a pre-event on the 23rd, and it's a 3-day event with lots of female entrepreneurs in the e-commerce, mainly in the e-commerce niche. And it's a fab event. It's free, and you can find out more by going to brandedbywomen.com.
But also, Anna, I do have to say, remember, I don't like willy waving. And part of that is it might not be you've got a question. You might just have some value to add to what we're talking about. So don't feel like we're all seeing, all knowing gurus, which obviously we are.
I love it. I love it. Honestly, I love you on Clubhouse. You just make me literally. I'm just laughing all the time.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be. Like,
Exactly.
If we all want to sit and listen to some boring up its own bottom room, you probably best go elsewhere. I think, really.
Have you all said happy birthday to Melissa yet?
We didn't sing happy birthday, but we did say happy birthday. We did.
Happy birthday
To you.
Happy birthday to you. Birthday to Melissa.
Melissa, happy birthday for your birthday yesterday.
Oh,
She was spoiled. She was spoiled. She was saying at the beginning.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing, guys. The whole day was amazing. I started, like, my gifts started last Thursday. You guys know the Mason Pearson brush?
Oh yes, they're very good.
That's what I got from my Valentine. He's totally just spoiling me around, and it didn't end there. That was just the beginning. I got that on Thursday, and then like every day since, we've just been spoiling each other, and he's been spoiling me. So we've had a lovely Valentine's weekend, and yeah, I'm still here with him in Seattle, and so we're having a great weekend and a great beginning to our week so far.
Oh, and also we need to point out to everybody who's listening and everyone who's in the audience, etc., if you like what anyone's saying here or you're interested in seeing what other people are doing around on Clubhouse, now I say this in the most loving way, you just hit us in the face and then you can follow us. I prefer the term gently tap, actually. I told someone off the other day for saying hit them on the face. That's a bit violent. But you just gently tap the person on the face and then you can follow them, and you can also press and see whenever they're doing something if you're interested, so just in case. And as people come up onto the stage, do the same if you think they seem fabby.
And also for those listening on Facebook and on YouTube, I got 3 more invites in my Clubhouse app earlier. So if anybody's wanting to get onto Clubhouse, you can reach out to me. I don't know if anyone.
And I've got 6.
Oh, you got 6? Yeah, cool. So we've got a few between us. If anyone's interested, it's a great way just to be able to connect with people and really get to know people, and just ask any questions or just add and connect. Really, I feel like I've just connected with so many people.
It's very clever, haven't they? Because if you think about it, this is like the perfect way to communicate, because we're all in lockdown. I don't know about you. I just actually had to shower that's why I had to run out quickly, because I had to have a quick shower.
Exactly. And I'm live streaming, and this is the first time that I've had to like brush my hair and make myself look okay, because I'm live streaming. Whereas normally I was like, oh my God, normally on Clubhouse, I'm like, I've sat in the bath. I'm like, just got my headphones on.
I heard you in the bath before. I think I heard you spit your bath water one time.
You did. So I love how it's just like casual chats as well. So yeah, if anyone's got anything to add or anyone wants to get in Clubhouse, just let us know.
Should we get people to raise hands, or?
Yeah, raise your hand if you want to add to this conversation.
Sharon hasn't given her spiel.
Yeah, I was gonna get to Sharon. Sharon, do you want to kind of just give people a bit of lowdown? Tell everyone about your fab YouTube channel. I was checking it out the other day because we keep saying it in this group. Hey, check out Sharon's YouTube channel, and I watched a couple of videos and I thought, yeah, it's really good. So do you want to give people a bit of an intro and maybe share what we were saying, share one thing that you think is useful for people listening, really, that's maybe impacted your business?
I think just because I've been on so many of the Branded by Women Clubhouse groups, and we've got totally different crowd here, I will probably just quickly introduce myself and then say what I'm talking about on Branded by Women, because no one else is really talking about what I'm talking about, because Danny really pushed me outside of my comfort zone, like all of us, but he pushed me out of Amazon for the first time. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sharon Evan, and I sell on Amazon, off of Amazon, and I also do coaching, and I'm also a co-host with Danny and
I've been basically producing products and selling them online for 16 years now, and I've been on Amazon this is my 5th year. And about 2 years ago, I decided to start coaching, and I started my YouTube channel. And in Branded by Women this year, I'm talking about how you don't necessarily have to sell products. Product development isn't for everyone. Being an inventor like Cara and also Amy, who's speaking as well, is not necessarily for everyone, and neither is product development. But it doesn't mean that e-commerce or digital in general can't be for everyone. And I think that everyone has something that they can turn into a money-making machine, and that's what I'm speaking about. Finding what you're good at and how you can turn that into a service, because as e-commerce grows, so does the need for service providers, whether it be copywriters or coaches or attorneys specifically for Amazon sellers, and all sorts of different things that we as sellers and just people in e-commerce need. And a lot of people are able to, if you just dig deep, you're able to find that one thing that even could be more than one thing that you can offer as a service and basically get paid for it. Because if us girls up here can do it, then so can everyone, really. So that's what I'm speaking about in Branded by Women this year, and it's not related to Amazon for the first time. Ooh, I'm going to be out listening to that. 100%. Here, here.
Yeah, same here. I think it's interesting what you said though, because I was quite surprised about people messaging me on the last one, and I think you just don't realise how sort of sharing your story or your journey can inspire other people sort of to take action as well. So that was kind of like my kind of open up, like my wake up really to it. I remember you saying that before, Sharon. So Yale, in fact, Yale, I know you're in and out. So while you're here,
Melissa also, I think, wanted to say something.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it was interesting. So the take that you were just sharing, Sharon, with that kind of opinion of this is silly. Why are we even doing this? Like we don't need to have our own thing. That was I got a lot of that when I was putting together my conference. I had a lot of that feedback. I actually got so much negativity. I almost called the whole thing off because trying to host an event for women, there was so much feedback that I got that was negative until we actually held the conference. And then there was the positive feedback that came in. And there was the people who were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing this. And you kind of got the other side of things, because I think that's very common. I wanted to point that out because I don't think that you were alone in feeling like that, Sharon. I think that there's some men who feel like, why are we being excluded here? And I think it's important to note that the Branded by Women conference, as with any other of the women's conferences that we have seen so far in this space, are not about excluding men. Men are most welcome and certainly very welcome to learn from the experts and amazing women who are going to be on the stage. But it's more about including more women on the stage and not about excluding men. So I think that's important.
Which is, I guess that I'm blessed that I grew up in a household where, my father is really the reason I am who I am today. And I was never taught that I was any different or any less or anything like that ever. And anywhere I ever went, I walked in just as a normal human and not necessarily as a female. And that's why I was also one of those people that was kind of pissed off. I was like, why do we need a conference specifically for women? Until the women reached out to me and said, we go to these conferences for Amazon, and there's hardly any women on stage. There may be women in the crowd, but there's 90% men on stage. And I didn't notice it because I guess it's not something that was too, I don't know, I just didn't notice it. And,
I definitely noticed it. I mean, I went to a $1 billion seller event, and I think I was one of very few women there at all who were sellers. And it was all men, which is fine because I get on really well with men. So used to do, men. And, you know, and actually, I think it's very important that women see there are women doing what they want to do, and also see women who are doing at the same level as them. And I think it's not only inspiring, but I think it's also educational and helpful.
I think something that stands out to me is Danny, because obviously I'm on seller sessions, Danny and I speak now almost every day. He said to me the other day, I hope that there won't be a need for Branded by Woman 3. And I was like, what? Why? And he was like, I don't mean that I don't want a Branded by Woman 3. I just mean that I hope that there'll be so many women kicking butt in the industry that we won't need specifically just conferences for women, because it'll just be a normal thing. And I just thought, I thought about it, and I was like, I hope that, I don't know if it's going to happen within a year, but now that my eyes are open to it and I understand how important it is to have more females in the industry, and there's heaps of females in the industry. I mean, speakers and leaders in the industry. I hope that the more empowering and the more branded by women types of events do help women to kick ass, really.
It is.
I think it might be more than a year.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know. The industry's grown a lot in the past year.
It has, and actually, I think also, someone's got to start somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting one, because when I was in the corporate world, I was always like, I felt like I was a bit of a geezer bird. Not that I felt like I looked like a guy or anything, but I was always like competing with men. I always like that male banter. I was never really like, in fact, if I'm really honest, I used to take the mick out of the mums before I was a mum, when I was in the boys club. And this is me being completely vulnerable and honest, because I used to think, oh, they're part-time, they don't work as hard as us. And it wasn't until I became a mum and then I started branding myself as a mumpreneur. And then I thought, why am I doing this mumpreneur thing? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not even a female entrepreneur. I feel like I've sort of like battled with it the whole journey. And it's not until when you do get involved in female stuff that you're not saying that you're a real feminist, or you're not trying to be like belittling guys. It's just like, we want to be heard, or we want to inspire more women to do it.
I personally love and hate the term mumpreneur.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then it's also funny, Anna, you were obviously in my kitchen about an hour and a half ago, because weirdly, I was just talking to my lovely ex-husband, and we were talking, I don't know how it even came up about women and children or whatever, and he was, I know what it was, he was saying about the fact that, when he was working, he used to get really annoyed with women who had children, and now he realises, he's got obviously our daughter, what a difference and an impact. And I said, God, do you know what? I, again, totally hands up. I used to roll my eyes. I'd be like, oh my God, what's the problem? You've got children. Jesus. Not like,
It was exactly me until I became one.
I was so unsympathetic. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe they're coming in late again. Doctor's appointment, all this sort of stuff. And it is, but the thing is, it is sometimes you've got to experience the joy to really, truly appreciate the hell and all the rest of it. But the only reason I don't mind the mumpreneur title, and it could be parentpreneur if you're being truly, egalitarian, is because I do think it's very different. I hear a lot of men say that they are entrepreneurs, they're dadpreneurs. No, they're not. They've got a wife who looks after their kids, right?
No, Karen.
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm not saying this about everybody. What I'm saying is, what I think the role is whether it's a mother or a father, it doesn't matter, that you're more of a mum or dadpreneur when you are actually the only person who's responsible for that child in terms of, getting them fed, taking them to the doctors, attending, all the life stuff. I mean, I'm a parent, yes, and I do less now that I'm divorced than I did when I was married. But I was definitely a mumpreneur in terms of I had like a baby who was a year old, and I was a full-time mum, and I was trying to be a full-time entrepreneur, which is hence why I probably had a nervous breakdown, because I was trying to do 2 full-time jobs.
Which was when I met you at the Mums Club event that did really inspire me. And I think that it was after that I started talking about, referencing myself as a mumpreneur. But I just feel that I get all your points. I just feel like that, I don't know, I just want to say that I'm an entrepreneur, but I do often call myself a female entrepreneur. But I think I just battle with it all the time, because I feel like,
use it now, but
I feel like we put ourselves down by doing it.
I use the term mumpreneur because I am a mumpreneur, and I'm proud to
say that I am, because we've been in lockdown for a year, and I have had to battle being a mum. I have a very active husband. We very much are honestly on the same level on holding the household and on work. We're a husband and wife team. But the reason I call myself a mompreneur is just because of what you guys said, was because before I became a mother, I didn't understand what it was like running businesses and being a mom. Because today I'm not just, Cara said that her brand is also her baby. I feel like I have like 4 babies because I've got multiple businesses. I've got a 4-year-old. I'm hopefully, God willing, we'll get pregnant again this year. And then it's tough. It's really hard. And not just that, when you work from home, when I leave my office in my house, and I could have had, I don't know, it could have been a shitty sales day, I could have had a bad coaching call, it could have been whatever, something shitty happens. I have to leave the office and go outside of, step outside of just this one room and go into the role of being a mum and smiling and being a good mum, and which I sometimes fail at. And then also the other way around, you've had a really, I don't know, my son could have just driven me crazy and I just want to bang my head against the wall, and then I have to go live on seller sessions 5 minutes later. So, I think that in general, I'm proud to call myself a mompreneur, and that's the way that I look at it, because I'm balancing all these different things. And on top of that, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, way before I became a mom. So it's like, it's both, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Well, Sharon, I'd just like to say you're never a failure, darling. I'm sitting in my office, aka at my kitchen table currently, and when I'm effing and blinding, yesterday I spent all day trying to argue with Amazon about listings, and and I was effing and blinding. There was no putting a smile on my face, so you're doing a lot better job.
No, I think that I'm not as hard as I used to be on myself, but I used to be, it's not, especially the last year. It was a tough year. I mean, you guys are in the UK. We were more or less in the same situation as you were. This was our 3rd lockdown that we haven't fully come out of even right now. And, having a less than 4-year-old, my son's 3.5 years old, having him at home throughout this pandemic was honestly like a fucking nightmare. It was just so bad. It was so difficult. And on top of that, putting a smile on my face for YouTube and for everyone else, and going through everything else. And I'm not the only one. Everyone here on stage has been going through this, whether you're a mum or not, it doesn't matter. But the point is, there were days where I wasn't the best mum that I could be, but, I'm doing the best I can. Let's put it that way.
I think it's difficult, isn't it, balancing everything. I've noticed that I talked for so long about working at home and running a business as a mum around my family, but there's always things that get neglected. It's usually my washing and ironing and all that kind of stuff, but homeschooling's been a challenging one this time around as well.
Also, just give yourself a break. You know what? At the end of the day, as I always say, put them in front of the TV with subtitles on, they're reading.
Yeah. In fact, my son's tutor said that recently. My son's tutor said that as a tip.
Danny's now listening in, and we've all mentioned kind of our stories. We've all mentioned how much Danny's pushed us to really, go past just our day-to-day activities. And Cara mentioned earlier that that's one of the things that she's really resonated with female entrepreneurs, is that we share these types of things. And I'll say, I don't think I've been on one event with men where, they talk about the mental health aspects of being an entrepreneur. They talk about balancing life during a pandemic and business. And I think that having that day one really be about kind of your mentality and mindset going into being an entrepreneur is so huge, because every single person struggles with that. And I kind of made the comment in the last group we did that entrepreneurship is 90% the mindset for me personally, and 10% the actual skill set. Like, you can learn anything online nowadays and figure out how to scale it. But the constant battle is waking up every single day and forcing yourself to work when your kids are streaming, or when you're in the middle of a pandemic, you have the opportunity to watch Netflix every single day. So that's the part that I was super pumped about, and that I've gotten the most out of being in rooms with all of you guys, is hearing your personal stories and hearing that we're all battling the same thing every day. We're just the ones that are out here sharing it publicly.
I just want to say
really big point.
Danny is one of the men in the industry that does openly share about struggles and things like that. I do think there are some men in the industry, but Danny is one of them that, doesn't make it look like everything's fairy tales and unicorns.
This should be the Branded by Women Girl Crush on Dan.
I was just about to say, there's all this name dropping with Danny in the room.
He's gonna hate this when he takes the subject. He's Danny, we love you.
He's like, don't mention me. It's branded by women. I don't want to be mentioned.
Should we actually get somebody up to ask or like speak to us?
I was going to say that it's been a bit us, hasn't it? I know we've got Yale and Tiffany. But
I'm listening.
It's
I'm listening, and everything you're saying, like, yes, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. Like Sharon was talking about going crazy with the kids on the third lockdown. I have 3 boys, and I'm going nuts. Thank God I have babysitters. But going back to what you said earlier about the feedback on the conference, about a year and a half ago here in Israel, I mean, I suddenly felt that there are no women in this industry, and I looked at our clients and saw that about 18 to 20% top are female sellers. So I decided to organize a conference for female sailors. We called it Amazonas, and it was here in Israel in a bar, and I organized it just a week before the date, and I said, well, whoever will come, it will probably be like 20, 30 women. It was about 100 or 120. And after the conference, so before the conference,
Let's see if we can do it in a year. Hey, Danny. So I know we're going to come to Tiffany, but I just want to encourage anybody that's in this room that wants to just add anything to the conversation, to the chin wag we're having, or has a question, then please raise your hand and come and join us. And Danny, if you want to come up, then please feel free. And Tiffany, I know you've got such an inspiring story. I don't know if you want to share a few bits about what you're going to be sharing at the event, and anything to share with everyone, really.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna. Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany. I'm trying to stay warm. It's like 9 degrees. Good themselves, or they don't have to be public about it, but just like sharing your struggles, because life is really hard and you don't have to keep everything inside. So I'm going to be speaking about how I have chronic illness and Lyme disease, and I started Amazon because of that, and because I have medical challenges and medical disabilities, and was literally like applying for disability. Like I was like unemployed. I had to leave the workforce, and so Amazon just became something that I fell in love with. I never knew my life would take this route. Honestly, if you guys would have told me this, 3 years ago, I would have been like, this is crazy. But it's just been such a blessing, and I'm going to be talking about how I use mindset in my business, and I built a service-based business, where we help with account suspensions, IP claims, and things like that. And get your free ticket at brandedbywomen.com.
Love it. Jamie put his hand up to come up here, and he's up here from the Endgame Network in Australia.
Yeah, good to see you, Jamie.
I'll let him in.
Yeah, good to see you, Jamie. Just to let everyone know, we are recording, and you all consent to the recording, just to give my legal aspect on it. But go for it, Jamie.
No, that's all good. I just wanted to say hello to everybody, especially to Sharon, Yale, Destiny, Cara, who will come on our show, and also Danny. Just wanted to say that you guys are doing amazing things. We've got some more Branded by Women guests coming on our show next week, which is going to be super cool in our community here. And surprisingly, in Australia, I think it's a little bit the opposite. Like, we're probably 70% of our group is females, which is awesome. So there's a big female shift down here. I feel like I'm a little bit of a mum entrepreneur as well, I guess, Sharon, being at home on my own. My wife's gone back to work the last couple of months. She's wanted to go back to the workforce, but we've got 4 teenagers. I'm home on my own with them. We're in our 3rd lockdown here in Melbourne, Australia as well. It's pretty crazy.
Teenagers are the worst. Have you got any tips on managing teenagers? Have you got any tips for teenagers?
Sorry, I missed that, Anna. What was that?
Have you got any tips for me for teenagers? Because I've got 2 of them.
We've got 2 girls. We've got a 17-year-old girl. We've got a 15-year-old boy, and then we've got twins, boy and a girl that are 13. When our twins were born, we had four kids under 4 years old. So, I was working full time. My wife did extraordinary things, bringing the kids up, and has decided that she just wants to go back into the workforce for more of a social thing, really, just to be around humans again. Well, not humans, but adults again. And I've taken on the role of being home full time and doing the end game and our Amazon business and a lot of other things. And it's a challenge, but it's great. I enjoy it. The teenagers in lockdown isn't the best, but when they're at school, it's pretty cool. And can relate to you women in a weird sort of a way. But just wanted to say good day to everyone, especially the ladies who have come on our show, and just wish you all the best for Branded by Women. And just want to say hello.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you. If I'd encourage anybody, if they've got a question or they've got anything to add, raise your hand, come and join us.
I was just in the middle of doing something, but damn it, Jamie Lynch. I just wanted to say to Jamie that you guys are crazy for bringing kids, so many kids up at once. But I heard your story that you guys were about to say, okay, this was the last kid, and they ended up being twins on Adam Heights. But
Well, we had a girl, we had a boy, we had a girl and a boy, and then we just thought, that's cool. Got the pigeon pair, and my wife fell pregnant, and twins, boy and a girl. It's pretty crazy, but four kids under 4 years old. I remember bringing them home from the hospital, looking in the back seat. There was like 4 car seats, and we had to go in and out from the house like 3 or 4 times. So many kids were taken back into the house when we came home, but it was just crazy. But
I'm just thankful for you that the pandemic happened when they're adults. And not adults.
Well,
when they're teenagers, and not when they're, because this age group.
Yeah, look,
so difficult.
I think that's true, Sharon. I think that if the kids were little, it would be a lot more difficult. My sister and my brother have got toddlers, and it is difficult. They don't understand, and the older they are, they are able to look after
more
themselves.
Independent.
Yeah, exactly.
Having iPhones helps as well.
Exactly.
There's no need to unless you can put them in front of a screen. Destiny, you have to allow them to also be out and teach them things. And it's tough. It was a tough year, but I could say that Rafael, the CEO of Unicargo, they also have 3 boys under the age of 4, and it's just like
wow,
it's crazy. But and this is why I think it's important. It's not just us women at home with kids. There's plenty of men who are at home with kids as well. That's why I think it's important to
I'll let you guys go, but just wanted to.
Yeah, you can stay up here with us. You don't have to go. It's fine. Just because it's Brandon by one doesn't mean it has to be swim up there.
I've got 2 a.m. in Australia, so I think I'm gonna just leave quietly.
No problem.
Thanks, he's doing the club. You've got the Clubhouse addiction that me and Sharon keep fighting with on, and probably everybody else, where we're up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning listening in. But good to meet you, Jamie. So yeah, if we've been talking, if you've just joined us, we've been talking a lot about the Branded by Women event that kicks off, I think, the pre-event on the 23rd of February. It's 3 days. It's kind of come about by, inspiring women entrepreneurs who are building businesses with e-commerce. And, it's really for people who, I think on their publication, Danny, I don't know if this is right, but I'm sure I saw on yours something about for the dreamers and the doers. So whether you're new to e-commerce and you want to come and listen to around about 30 women share some really good content and also share their powerful stories of success. It's a complete free event, and there's a ticket to upgrade, and it all kicks off next week. So definitely go check it out. And we've been inviting different speakers in this room that we do every week. The Women of Amazon, we do it every week at this time. Well, it's now an hour ahead at 2 o'clock UK time or 9 a.m. Eastern time. And it's your chance to also join us, chat about e-commerce and Amazon, and also ask any questions. So if anybody wants to come and join us, let us know. And if you are listening to this on Facebook, I hope that the audio is all okay, because I've only done one test on Sunday. And if you do want to get into Clubhouse, I woke up this morning with 3 new invites. And I think Cara was saying before she had some. So if anybody wants to reach out to us and get inside Clubhouse, this is a taste of what it's all about. So come and join us. So anyone wants to raise a hand, or anyone got anything they want to discuss, let us know.
I just invited McLean up, who's also speaking. Hey, McLean. Hey. How are you, ladies? Good. How are you? I'm good. It's like 8 in the morning here, so I just woke up, but I'm here. Do you want to, McLean? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but do you want to quickly just tell us what you're going to be speaking about on Branded by Women? Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of background on me. I've always secretly wanted to be a stand-up comedian. That's always been my dream since a child. So I'm really into humor and anything related to comedy. So I am doing a presentation. That explains a lot, McLean. I mean, I have the same sense of humor as you, but that just explains a lot because you're one of the funny people in the industry. So sorry, continue. Well, thank you. That means so much to me. Maybe I'll quit this job and just be a stand-up comedian for Amazon, sellers and experts. Maybe that'll be my job. So anyway, I am doing a presentation called Drawing Outside the Drawing Board, and it's really to focus on how you can use humor and farce and boldness to market your products or whatever, or services or whatever you're selling. So it's kind of to stay away from, a lot of people like to use luxury and the finer things in life, and to really uphold their products in this beautiful lighting. And my speech is really to talk about how you can actually use humor and comedy as a way to not only present your product in a comedic friendly and person friendly way, but it actually a lot of research and studies show that people are more likely to remember your product if you use these tactics, because just naturally the way the brain chemistry works, you're more likely to remember funny stuff as you are to remember serious stuff. So that's pretty much my spiel.
I think we always remember funny stuff more, don't we? Because I always remember a teacher at school that just used to do everything that was like comedy stuff, and I can still remember it all now. Whereas there's other teachers I just can't remember anything. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a way to remember stuff, I think.
Well, and I kind of talk about, like, I know not everyone's from the U.S., but in the U.S., the Super Bowl is like one of the biggest events of the year and brings in like millions and millions, or I would say billions of advertising bucks. And a lot of the reason people watch the Super Bowl isn't even for the sporting event, it's for the commercials because they're notorious for being funny. So I kind of bring that into part of it. So it'll be a fun speech. It's meant to be fun and, you know, humorous and to entertain. So hopefully that's what it does.
Yeah. Well, great to meet you as well, because I'm not connected with you myself. So really good to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too, Anna.
I did notice that I think it was Sandy was up to ask a question. So Sandy, if you're still there or to contribute, if anyone wants to raise their hand and they've got any questions, there's a lot of knowledge on this stage. So if anyone's got any questions or you just want to kind of share something, then let us know. Because I know Nia, we were chatting yesterday. If anyone's got any additional things, come and join us on the stage.
Yoni wants to come up. I'm inviting him. And after that, and I just don't know if Yael is already done an intro. Maybe she can do it after Yoni speaks. I will. After Yoni.
No, let Yael go first, please.
Yeah,
because you keep coming in and out. Keep thinking, get you to do your intro.
I'm just listening. Well, yeah, speaking of kids, you can hear them. So I'm like, you know, near the kids and then going to the room and then going out and going back. So I'll be speaking about, it's a lot about challenges, right? So I'll be speaking about our own challenges dealing with suspensions and the seller challenges and how, you know, the way they react actually, you know, changes the game. So we see, just giving an example, you know, a seller that gets suspended for infringing a patent. So some of the sellers, if that happens, they get panicked and, you know, what am I going to do? My product infringes a patent. I cannot change the product. What's going to happen? And then there are those sellers who, you know, this happens, they're going to fight. They're not going to let go. So they search for prior art, like prior publication. And we had several cases where the seller actually brought us, you know, prior publication, and we're able to go to the patent owner and say, hey, the patent shouldn't have been registered. And if you do not cancel the suspension, then we are going to cancel your patent, basically. And so the reaction of the seller on Amazon, and we've been talking about that many times, that you need to be a fighter to be on Amazon. And we actually see the same sellers that fight, we see them later succeeding on Amazon and getting to the 7 figures. That's, you know, my point of view. I'll also be talking about our own challenges, but maybe I'll leave that to the conference itself. So Yoni, tell us about what you do.
Well, this is so little about what I do. I first wanted to say I know a bunch of these incredible women on stage, so including Yael. So it's amazing what you're all doing, and I've been sitting and listening along for, I think, the last hour. And I had a question. Well, firstly, just a little bit of background. I've also been in the Amazon space for a while in e-commerce, and I have 2 companies supporting Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers, one in staffing, one in consulting. Also, our team of about 80% women. So of our team, close to 35 of them are women. So big believer in what I would say is probably the most underutilized, most valuable asset on the planet. That's our women. But as someone who is trying to do what I can to promote women in business, and, you know, I don't really look at it as men and women, and it's really on merit, I'd probably be not the standard. So what are some ways that men who might have a platform or trying to build one can support women? You But also, Danny, I haven't met you yet before, but all I hear is incredible things. So good work on Branded by Women. But that's my question.
I made a post about this, Yanni, on my Instagram. I'll put it in my stories, but it says ways to support women in the Amazon space. So I think, like a lot of men maybe don't see a difference, but I do personally notice that some men do see a difference. For instance, I have mostly male friends, but unfortunately, I've realized they tend to help each other and share each other's content or services, but they don't do the same for me. So I would just say, trying to be cognizant and a little bit self-aware of like, hey, do I share my female friends, content, or do I shout them out? Do I mention their name in Facebook groups, things like that? For me, that's kind of one thing that I notice a difference with.
Just before Danny starts talking, I just want to say that Danny's obviously the perfect example of this. On the one hand, I'm having difficulty with the question because I think women and men, like I said initially, for this should be like treated the same. On the other hand, it's important for women to see women on stage as well in podcasts. And I think for me, I just want to be treated the same way that you would treat a man. So like Tiffany said, if I've got good content, then you'd share it the same way you would, like it's just interesting to me. You've got Yoni, you're in Israel now, so you're in our community, and we've got Nir in the audience as well. I don't think that he sort of thinks before he shares my content, I'm going to share the content because it's a woman. I think he shares my content just because he thinks that I bring value. So on the one hand, I think that Danny's a perfect example of a man who, gives a lot to women. On the other hand, I know Danny doesn't pick us out because we're women as well. So I'd just be interested to see what Danny has to say. Hey, Danny.
Yeah, come on, Danny.
How we doing, guys? I did say I want to stay off the promo one, but because it was a guy asking you guys, how does a man support women? Then the things I would say is, don't talk about it, just get on with it. It's as simple as that. Like, there are people out there who do virtual signaling and everything else. I love women. I didn't arrive here. I got delivered one way, and that's what they want, right? And you've got to treat people as human beings. It doesn't matter what colour their skin is or anything else. If you can see potential in people, you support them. Yeah? I think there's too much when people talk about stuff but don't do it. And 7% of words are only 7% of the communication. So if you're going to do it, just get on with it. People are going to question you. I get questions by women, I get questions by men, why you won't. And it's like, it's none of your business. I just get on with it. If people are happy and we can create opportunity for people and it changes the landscape, the job's done. I think what you've got to do is don't worry about it, just do it. It's as simple as that. We can make it really complicated. Do it because you want to do it. Simple as that. And then show people through your action.
Yeah, I love that.
I think that just like acting the same thing you would do with a guy with a woman. So if you're gonna have a guy on your podcast, because he's got good and valuable content, then you'd have a woman on your podcast because she's got great content as well. And like Danny said, I don't think that you have to pay too much attention to it, but just do it like Mike.
But also kudos to Yoni for actually putting it out there to say, I want to make sure that I'm being more inclusive. So it's really nice to actually hear that, I think. But like Danny said, I like how just like actions, it's actions, isn't it? Just get on with it and do it and don't even really think about it. So some really good points, actually. I don't know, Yoni, if you've got anything to say to that.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, I actually launched a podcast. Melissa has been invited as a guest. Yeah, Els Park. It's been actually an active thing for me to find more incredible female founders and entrepreneurs to give them a voice. And, I definitely get on with it. But if there were specifics beyond sharing. Like if there's any things that men potentially do in, I don't know, like I was listening at the start and it felt like there were maybe some men can have sort of diminishing characteristics when it comes to women in business. So for me, it's always about education. How do you improve? How do you do better? How do you empower, men and women? But, we're talking specifically about women today.
So add on to that. Sorry, just quickly to add on to that. Women are very perceptive. Men are less perceptive than women on a biological level as well. And people see right through things, right? So you've got to be congruent on who you are. Yeah, it's as simple as that. People can tell if it's not instantly through body language. You can over the years and speaking on the road and stuff like that. They get to know you, you get to know them, and stuff just happens. Do you see what I mean? And I think the key thing is just get on and do it. That's all you've got to do. There isn't any, like, for me, a magic formula. It's just like, just do what you want to do. And it's very basic on a primal level.
I'm going to say... sorry, No, you carry on, please. Oh, I was going to say, like, this is going to probably be controversial, and I want to preface this by saying, like, most of my friends are guys. I have nothing, I'm not, like, all-out feminist man-hater, so, like, I don't want it to come across that way. But I think, like, while I totally agree with Sharon and Danny that at the end of the day, everyone's a person and we're all equal, I think it kind of does a disservice to say that kind of stuff, because the reality is we're not living in a world where women, minorities, like gays, we're not living in a world where everyone is equal. And even if you're not outright misogynist or sexist or racist or anything like that, like there are subtle nuances that happen. And like one of the examples I can think of is I can't tell you how many board meetings I've been in where I've been interrupted by a man. Like, I'm in the middle of a thought and I get interrupted. And I don't think it's like on purpose. Like, I don't think most men are purposely trying to undermine me, but it does happen. And I don't want to like necessarily make it about a man and female thing, but I think that, Yoni, I think it's great that you're conscious of that and you're trying to make yourself better, because I think if we keep saying everyone's equal and we're all treated equal and everything's great, like we're missing a lot of the point that it's not still equal, and we do need to still work on society and making sure that everyone has the same opportunity and everyone's treated equal.
I totally agree with you.
I don't want to be the man who's butting in there. I was going to follow up on McLean. I agree and concur with McLean, but it comes back down to the point of just getting on and doing things. Like, the thing is, perception is, the thing is there's too much on this, the perception side, right? So we're all born equal, but then society has a perception. Does that make sense, right? So men, there'll be a lot of men out there who are disingenuous towards you, for instance, or there's the gender pay gap and all these different things. But we all come into this world with nothing, and we leave with nothing. It's a societal bit that needs to change. And by doing events like this, by doing ministers' events, and what Athena does, these all make a difference. Yeah, so hopefully we're on a very micro scale. We're hopefully addressing some things like within our industry. If there's only 10% women at an event and then suddenly there's 40% next year, part of our work is done. We're not going to change the whole of society, but if everyone does their bit to make a difference, be kind to people, support people, it can go a long way. We just need more and more of that to be the effect to take over the unequal balance. I'm not saying it's going to happen today, tomorrow, or in our lifetime, but it's your contribution that matters to help be a change agent for the future.
Just before Melissa and Tiffany say what they wanted to say. We have going to pronounce her name properly, I hope. Vernetta here, who has something to say, I think, as well. So let's just...
Yeah, that's what... Thanks, Shanks. That's what I was going to say. I know Vernetta... Is that how you say name, Vernetta?
No,
You've been patiently waiting anyway.
Thank you. It's Vernetta. Grateful to be here, Anna and Sharon. I've been popping in and listening for the last couple of weeks. I'm at the really at the beginning of my Amazon journey, if you will. Specifically, I have created previous product-based businesses and e-commerce, as well as a six-figure consulting business. But now I really see a future in Amazon, and so I've checked out a few of your videos, and but I was prompted to come on stage with this conversation because I appreciate the sentiments that Danny is sharing. I really appreciated that McLean popped in and what she said, because I think that as much as we want to get on with it, I do think that a narrative around like don't think about it too much and just do it is quite dangerous. The reality is that we are in the world that we're in, and that in order for contributions to make a difference, it actually requires quite a bit of thought and intention and mindfulness. And this is not me wanting to point fingers, but it's like even from the time that I came into the room and came on stage, I did see Danny like interrupt McLean when she was trying to start, or when other women were trying to start. And it's not always intentional, but if there is not a true self-awareness around unconscious bias, it's really difficult to have this conversation in terms of like as if we're all equal and that we all are coming to the table. So I believe it was Sharon's point around someone posting her content as a woman just because it's good content doesn't always account for the fact that men post each other's content all the time, whether or not it's good content or not. And that unconscious bias is there, that as a woman, it's like I have to overcome that bias that a person might have about me by having great, stellar, above and beyond, because there's a bias there where I won't be accepted just at face value of being a woman, of being Black, of maybe entering a new space. And so I just wanted to offer that I love to continue to meet and get to know and connect with you all as I move into this Amazon space. But I just wanted to offer that, just being as someone that very much is living this every day, that unconscious bias makes all the difference. And if you're not aware that you have an unconscious bias, it's really difficult to say that you can fully show up and just get on with it.
I just want to say regarding, so first of all, Danny is the man behind Branded by Women, and second of all, I interrupt people all the time, and I'm a woman, and it's not because I'm like I don't respect the person, but sometimes I'm just dying to get what I want to say there. And just because I know Danny, like, it's not because we're women that he's interrupting. It's just because it's his personality, and that we're also, when it comes to Clubhouse, sometimes we can speak over each other, not intentionally, because you kind of wait. Someone takes a breath, and you think, okay, they're finished, and then you can get it in there. I have difficulty with this, the man and woman side of things. You mentioned you being Black. I'm Jewish. So because I'm Jewish, I don't expect, certain things. And I'm just saying that I don't think that, I understand half of the stuff you're saying, and I agree with half of the things that you're saying, most of the things that you're saying. But for me, like just how earlier we were saying that, someone up here said that, there aren't dadpreneurs because, it's the mom doing it. That's a load of shit. There's plenty of men who are raising their children. My husband and I run our household and multiple businesses together. My husband does just as much as work as I do when it comes to raising our son. And I think that, I just have difficulty with the fact that Danny may have spoken there doesn't mean that it's because we're women. It's just Danny, and you need to know Danny to know that. And even if like I interrupt people all the time, it doesn't mean that I'm trying to disrespect someone. It's just, you know, it's my personality of like dying to say what it is that I have to say. So just
I think it is. I think it is difficult, isn't it, on Clubhouse to interrupt a little bit. But I do also think that Vanita made some really valid points around this kind of like subconscious. What was the phrase that you used again? Yeah, the subconscious bias, because I've definitely been on the receiving end of that a lot. And also having mixed race children, I have not that I would ever say that I've felt that, like, because obviously I'm a white person, but I have felt it kind of like on behalf of my children, or even me being, you know, this bias anyway, you know, when people think that my children aren't mine, you know, if we're out and about sort of thing, especially if we separate and then people look surprised if we're together, you know. So I've definitely had kind of can hear both sides of that, really. Melissa, were you going to jump in and say something?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for your words. Hey Brandon. Brandon, probably
this is your event. So I just wanted to come in and say one quick thing. I absolutely love this event because I love that it shines a light on what you guys are doing. And I'll be the first to admit openly that I have a conscious bias towards women in business, because as an angel investor and a venture capitalist, women are 60% more likely to be successful when I invest in them. That's a statistic that is a fact. And you guys as founders, I can tell you that my students in my inner circle, the majority, the most successful
I think what I wanted to add here, there's a couple things. So again, I wanted to thank Renita because it's hard to come up on stage, especially with a group of people that you don't know, and want to build a bridge with and connect with, and hopefully get on well later on, but still present maybe a controversial side of things. So I want to thank you for doing that. And I want to just tell you how much I agree with everything that you said. I do know Danny, and I know that it was probably just a Clubhouse mic snafu and not an intentional thing. But because I do think that you have to do it with some intention. One of the things that happens if you just one of the ways that we got here is that many events were just being, they were being hosted and run by men. They were being organized by men, and so most of the well-known people were buddies of buddies and stuff like that, and that's how they got onto the stage. And then people who were on stage are more likely to be asked to be on stage because they already have a speaking resume, and all of that continues to perpetuate itself. And there's an opening for women. And again, when I was trying to arrange the Empowering Women's Conference, I probably got more hate that year than I have ever received in my life, and specifically in e-commerce. I was shocked and almost wanted to just like bow out, not only to cancel the event, but also just be like, I'm out. I'm not doing e-commerce social networking stuff anymore.
Melissa,
was
it mostly crazy. Men or women that were against it?
It was both. And so I got some guys that were saying, like, why are you excluding that? And some of it was brought to me kindly, and earnestly. like, why are you doing an event that is excluding men? And I was like, it's not. If you look at it, we're specifically telling men, please come support the women who are on the stage. You know, you're welcome, and you're welcome to learn from these women and to share your experiences and stuff too. You just won't do it on the stage this time. But one of the ways that we got here is that people were not intentionally trying to include women on stages. And this is an important distinction. And this is a conversation I had with one of the guys when I was doing my conference as well, when he asked that question, why are you excluding men? And it's not about excluding men. It's not about even, it's hard to explain. I had a very hard time explaining it to him as well. It's less about excluding men and more about including women, but having the ability, having more events where women are put up on the stage so that they can build their speaking resume, so that instead of it being, we're going to have a women's event or only women are going to be on the entire event, it becomes more commonplace, and there's more women who have speaking resumes established that other event hosts who don't have just women conferences can pull from, so that they can say, oh, look, you know, I have all of these many names to choose from. And as an event host, you have a big responsibility to make sure that the event is well attended, that the speakers that you're choosing are going to draw a crowd. So the fact that men were being chosen over and over to be on the stage only made sense, even if it were women who were organizing the event, because they're looking for people who are going to make a successful event and have a lot of people show up and sell a lot of tickets. I think that not being intentional and just getting on with it sometimes is how you get there. It's how you get to, you know, oh, I'm going to invite my buddy. He's really great at this. And it's how you get the panel of 4 or 5 guys that ended up with the question that I mentioned at the very beginning of this. I'm sorry, my signal is not great, so I hope that you guys are able to get everything I'm saying. Okay, great. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I really did appreciate Renita's words. The unintentional bias. Those are powerful words. The phrasing is super on point. And even, you know, knowing Danny the way that I do, I know that
he didn't mean it the way it's being taken. He meant it as it's your platform. Your platform. This is what he meant without even saying this. I just know this is what he meant. This is your platform, Yoni. You do whatever the hell you want to do on your platform. You want to have women on your platform, have them on your platform. That's what he meant. Right, Jenny? And also, the actions speak louder than words.
I love how we all just butt in on Clubhouse. Though it's so hard not to do. Go on, Danny.
Don't be scared to talk, Danny.
Yeah, don't be scared to talk.
I was joking. Anita, listen, let's get you booked in for Branded by Women 3 when we do that next year. That's the first thing. And I can't talk from a black woman's point of view, from what you've had to deal with in terms of racism and stuff. No one can see through your lens unless they walk through your shoes. I'm a kid from the council estate. Most of my best friends were black, a lot. And, you know, we grew up and we were treated like street urchins. You know, we were bad kids on the stage just trying to get through and stuff like that. And I see the level of racism that they had to in the town. You know, some have gone on to do well, you know, and I'm talking white, black and everything else, but, you know, some are in prison, some are dead, and we're just making the most of our situation. So I may come across as like kind of matter of fact, but the thing is, when you put your head above the parapet and you want to get stuff done, there are times you have to dial out the noise and the complaints. Like, you know, I do sell a Poldy Award, I get abuse for it. I do Branded by Women, I get abuse for it. I bring Isabella in on a Monday on the podcast, I get abuse for it. I bring Sharon in on a Thursday, I get abuse for it. If I took on all of those things and listened to that stuff, I probably wouldn't get around to do anything. So sometimes I may come across as a bit coarse, but people that know me know what I'm about, and it's about congruence. And yeah, I mean, you do this out of love. I've been planning this most recent Branded by Women for 6 months now. So we had a longer lead time, and because of to get up, just go in for it. We've got 25 promo slots across the industry between now and the event, 4 live shows in 3 days. Now, I don't know of anyone who's pulled off 25 promo slots across the industry for anything that they've done. It might be the first time it's been done, and we shall see. But I have a goal. My goal is to raise the awareness. And so sometimes I might come across a big course, and I just put my head down and go for it. Because that's the best way I can operate, if that makes sense.
No, I'd like to respond. I appreciate everything that you said, Danny. Along with congruency, I think I would add that to the word, or I would add the word and concept of equity. Melissa, also appreciate everything that you shared and reflected back. We're talking about leveling the playing field, and that also all of us can participate, operate, have equal opportunity to be successful. And it requires an approach, an equitable approach, which is not the same as equality. And Sharon, I appreciate your reflections as well. You know, as in terms of underrepresented groups, it's not all the same. You know, I'm getting a chance to meet you here for the first time. I appreciate you and, you know, sharing with me that you are of the Jewish faith. That's not something that I would have known simply from having a chance to view your image. Everybody knows that I'm Black. That's not something that I can hide. The moment I walk in a room, what makes me part of a underrepresented group is on full display. It's not something that someone has to find out about me. And that goes along with a lot of our demographics, whether that be LGBT or several others. So I bring that all back to, in order to level the playing field so that we all can truly have an same opportunity to succeed, it does require an approach of equity. And what equity means is that you fill those gaps. You fill the gaps that any particular group is that is in need of based on their needs in order to level the playing field. That is not the same as like, I'm just going to treat everybody the same. Treating everyone the same does not fill in the gaps that allows everyone to come to the table and have a equal chance of being successful. So then I'm happy to talk with anyone offline if that doesn't, you know, if that is need of more explanation, but treating people equally and treating people with equity are not one and the same.
Yeah, I want to speak up, Bernita, because I completely agree with you. And although I adore Danny, I agree with what you're saying. You can't just treat everyone the same because that's part of the issue. Like for me, most of my friends are Black. I go to the Black church. Like it vastly, it honestly really makes me very sad that I don't see people that look like my friends, i.e. Black people, in the Amazon space. And so, you know, what I am doing is consciously saying, hey, who are the Black people in this industry that are reputable, that are valid, that are putting out good content? Let's raise them up, right? Because if I treated everyone the same, I wouldn't be doing that because I see that there is a gap. So I completely agree. And as a woman who has mostly male friends, who has done a YouTube live, you know, when I first started Amazon with 4 men, and who had male mentors that I would share their content and help them. And then when I needed help, they kind of ghosted me. I can say that treating everyone the same, in my opinion, is not the answer. I mean, as a woman, I've been asked to do so much for free that I know that no one would go to a man and ask a man to do for free. And I know that I'm very kind and I'm very compassionate and I'm very giving. One of my gifts is that I'm empathetic, and so I can see things and feel things from others' point of view. And so I've had to have very strict boundaries with people, and I've had to realize who's really in my corner and who's not. Because yes, I completely agree with you, Bernita, that there are gaps. And if you treat everyone the same and you don't say, hey, where are the women, or where are the Black people, or where are, why do we not have these kinds of people in this industry or this area? You have to be consciously aware that like Brandon said, he is consciously biased towards angel investing in women. I think that, that does help to fill those gaps. So that's just what I wanted to say.
I just wanted to say thanks, because I think you bring some really important sort of issues and topics to the table. So I really value you bringing that to us. And I don't know if anybody else would like to kind of make any further comments. I've got another call at 4:00 UK time. I know you're all in different time zones, so that's in 15 minutes. I'm currently live streaming. I hope everyone that's listened to this has thought, hey, Clubhouse is really cool. We get some really good topics of discussion. As I said earlier, if anyone wants any invites, I've got a few. But I'm going to close the recording down. But if you guys want to keep the room open, I think it's kind of really good discussion. I just need to duck out because I've got 2 appointments back to back. And it's also really great to meet Vanida. I'm glad that you've been coming every week. And if anybody would like to raise their hand and has got any kind of discussions to, topics to add to this discussion, or any questions to ask, we've been talking about the Branded by Women event, and also having some really good discussions around this. So yeah, come and join in. Sharon and Melissa, Tiffany, McLean, Danny, Vanida, Yoni, Brandon, anybody want to carry on this room? I'm going to have to duck out.
If Melissa, who's a much better moderator than I am, I don't have a problem doing it.
Great stuff.
Yeah, I actually will have to duck out at 8. But I want to congratulate you, Anna. What a great room this has been, and carrying on for 2 hours. It's been well done, and I appreciate the conversation and the way that you've allowed it to just flow and take its natural course. I think
yeah, I think it's been really important topic, actually, and I've loved it. So thanks for everybody's contributions. So I'll leave the room going then, because I know you some of you have made moderators. Everybody that's been listening, hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next week, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. UK time, and also on Friday morning we do 9 a.m. UK time, which is 4 a.m. Eastern, I think. We tend to get the Australian, the UK guys. So I will see you next week, and I'll leave you with everybody to continue. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Anna.
Bye.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you for having me.
So if you have been listening on the live stream, hope you've enjoyed that. As I say, I've got invites for the Clubhouse app if you want to join us. I might do this live stream again if anyone's enjoyed the topic. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you next time. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.